you for joining me. We're going to be talking today about the 5 common mistakes in preparing a parent or loved one for a nursing home. My name is Todd Sivia, and I own Sivia Law Firm. We help people through life's transitions. Our firm really focuses in on estate planning, elder law, special needs, but elder law is kind of one of those dear to my heart type of topics because it has affected some of my loved ones as well. And so I'm going to go through what we've deemed as the 5 common mistakes. So we're going to do a quick introduction. We are running just a few minutes behind. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was able to join us that was going to join today. And then we're hopeful that this presentation does not take the entire 35 minutes, but we're just going to run through kind of the top 5 mistakes, and then we're going to use some real world examples of those mistakes and what the outcomes were. And then at any point in time, there is a little button on everything, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions as you see fit. And I'll try to either answer them as I go, or if I really get deep into this, I'll try to stop in the middle of the presentation and answer the questions as they come by. So without much ado, here's topic number 1, doing everything yourself. Anytime you're dealing with family members, it's extremely hard. And a lot of times we've never been in that experience, so we really don't know what the resources are. And the first thing you got to do is ask for help. Don't hesitate to ask for help, seek resources. You can't expect to have all the knowledge in the world about all the different topics. The internet's great, but you can cut down a significant amount of time looking for what resources are good, which resources are bad for the different circumstances, because everybody kind of has their own little issues that pop up, and we want to make sure that you're guiding you in the right direction, or we can provide resources to you. But there are so many resources out there, whether it's Alzheimer's Association, family groups, and different resource case managers and things of that sort, that really have a good perspective on what are the options that are out there. Get feedback from as many people as possible, family, friends who've gone through the process. Seek wise counsel from others. So those that your loved ones, looking for a geriatric care manager or a senior living advisor. We do work with several of those, and we can provide those resources. But finding the right fit for your family is extremely important. Secure the help of a senior advocate, somebody that has knowledge about what resources are out there. Don't always act and try to do it yourself. So let's talk about an example of where that has happened. I want you to meet Betty. I always change the names to protect people. Betty had a house. And one of the misconceptions, or one of the issues that most people say is, well, I got to get rid of my house and give it to my kids as soon as possible. And that's what Betty did. Betty transferred her house to a relative to her son. And the problem is, the son had marital problems, and Betty really didn't know about this. Betty decided, I want to protect the asset from Medicaid, but the problem is her son got a divorce, and the court awarded the house to the ex-wife. And the reason why I met Betty was because she had received an eviction notice, and her stepdaughter was evicting mom. Now, this is not a place where we ever want to see somebody, but she was trying to do it herself. She thought, hey, I'm trying to follow through the steps and, trying to save my assets as much as possible. But the problem is, Betty, even though she had good intentions, the end result was ex-daughter-in-law has her house and living in her house, 2-bedroom apartment with her son. So it was not the result that she had ever expected. Mistake number 2, not exploring all housing options. It used to be that the capacity of individuals would go straight to the nursing home. But there are so many different options out there these days that really can provide a better living care, and it's not as costly as a nursing home. And not everybody needs to go to a nursing home. Nursing home is very far at the end. And so not everybody needs to go to that level. So don't assume that your parents have to move in with you when they no longer live on their own. It's not necessarily the best option. It changes the family dynamic, changes the family attitudes, and if you have siblings, it will also cause friction between you and the other siblings. One, you're carrying the burden versus somebody else. Independence in a senior living community, there could be a senior living community or assisted living community. What you need to do is look at how much care that person needs. And luxury senior living doesn't necessarily equate to quality senior care. This is very important. Just because it costs more doesn't mean you're going to get the better care. So, having somebody out in the community that knows senior living and can guide you in the right direction. And not every living community is the best. There are some that are just strictly Alzheimer's. There's some that are moving you from senior living to Medicaid and having that, exploring all the different options. Not all institutions can be trusted. So you want to make sure that you're checking through and making sure that you are doing your due diligence with all the senior living carers. Speak privately with residents and staff about the level of satisfaction. They're there when you're visiting. They know that you're visiting. And when you're visiting, it's a sales pitch. And you have to understand that it's a sales pitch. So make sure you had a chance to speak privately with residents, speak privately with staff. What is the level of satisfaction? Typically, happy staff are caring staff. A community full of cheerful residents is usually a good sign. So, but there's also times when people just need a little bit of care. And, there are ways where you can provide some care by coming inside the house. So, and that kind of slowly works through that transition. So, explore all your housing options. So meet Ralph. Ralph was a client. We knew that he needed Medicaid in the back end. So because we knew that going into it, we were able to work with a senior placement individual who was able to find him a place where once the money ran out, he would go into Medicaid, knowing that was the option that was available and that there was no transition. Why is transition very important right now? If we look at what happened between March and basically June, essentially all nursing homes were on lockdown. And when they were on lockdown, we couldn't move those individuals in and out of care. You almost had to get a court order in order to transition that individual. So even if you're running out of money and that place was not the right placement in the beginning, because we were not thinking about Medicaid in the front end, or we were not thinking about VA or any other benefits that are available to that individual, and that person is in a facility, they may be locked into that facility because of other issues. And the pandemic has put a huge spotlight on making sure that you're in the one facility that you will need to be in for a longer period of time, just in case. Failing to consider for the long term. Again, this is going back to what we were just talking about. A lot of people think, okay, mom or dad went to the hospital, they're getting ready to get out, they're not really thinking about it, and they're making rash decisions. I've got like a week to place that individual, and then they're going in for rehab, and they're not really making any. They're making rash decisions. So the more we can pull back and really assess the situation, get a geriatric care manager to come in, help us make an assessment of what we expect, how much care that person is going to need is key. We recommend that families visit at least 3 communities before making a decision. Don't just go to the first one and say, oh, that's it. Don't just choose it because it's really, really close to you versus checking out a few in the community. They're building nursing home and assisted living facilities all over the place. There are some great ones all over the place. They don't have to be in a condensed area. So make sure that you're looking at multiple. Consider all possibilities. If there's a chance they will move in with you, that may be the best option. If you've got some nursing background or you've got the ability to take care of the loved one, that may be an option. But we have to set out realistic expectations of when is there a cutoff. So be realistic about your parent or senior loved one's current care needs as well as their anticipated needs, because the needs are going to change. So as we deteriorate in life, we've got to make sure that we have a plan and set benchmarks of what our expectations are. If you don't plan accordingly, this will cause undue stress and frustration. There will be angst and misgivings and feelings of, well, I'm not being adequate to my parent, or I'm not being this to my parent, and it'll cause you more stress. And especially on the back end of life, we really don't want anybody to be more frustrated with a loved one, whether it's you making the decision or the family member, being frustrated as well. So less frustration is better. Setting out clear expectations and understanding what everybody's needs are. So, so if we talk about an example, meet Billy. Billy was a client, and a lot about Billy, what Billy was working through was Billy had a family member. They really didn't set out any expectations, and it got to a point where the family member couldn't handle Billy's medical assistance anymore, and they had to put him in a nursing home, and Billy just was not understanding of that, and didn't understand why they were doing that, because they didn't have that earlier conversation. A lot of times a family member giving, it will put undue stress on, and because a lot of times the children will have to quit their jobs, or they'll have to take care of parents, or they'll have to do all these extra things, and it causes angst, because there's a financial shortfall, and there's other stresses of trying to take care of both the parent. Sometimes, especially if you're in the sandwich generation of taking care of children and now aging parent, you've got the strong dichotomy. And also grandchildren. If you've got grandchildren, you're trying to take care of grandchildren and help your kids and take care of the elderly. It's a lot to handle. You're not alone. Make sure that you've got support groups and things of that sort. But having clear expectations and setting clear expectations is very important. Not being fully prepared. I can go on and on about this one, but preparing everything and making sure the earlier you can prepare, when you start seeing the first signs of Alzheimer's, when you start seeing a slowdown or a diminishment of capacity or diminishment of the ability to handle certain things. Sometimes it just comes upon you, with stroke or some other things. But the faster everybody, it is a very generational. Usually, like the greatest generation, they usually don't like to share personal information with their kids because they don't want everybody to know their business. But knowing what's going on, knowing what kind of insurance coverage they have, where their bank accounts are, what estate documents they have, do they have wills, do they have trusts, do they have funeral plans? Funeral plans is an exempt asset for both veterans and Medicaid. So pre-planning and pre-paying for funerals are all exempt assets, and it's a great way to take care of some assets. Knowing what kind of medical and insurance information. A lot of times, there's if you make some changes within Medicare, you can actually save the person some money, but the elderly are hit constantly about this product or that product, and they'll make changes fairly often, and sometimes those changes are not always the best for that individual. Making sure you have the names and phone numbers of all the professional advisors. Making sure you have real estate documents. Here's the most important one. If you're a veteran, knowing about veterans benefits. There are veterans benefits that are available where you can get up to $2,600 a month for both in-home care and nursing home care that is available to individuals, but also Medicaid. The average senior only has about $100,000 worth of assets. And if you've got that amount of money, you're not going to spend too much time before you're on Medicaid. And knowing what those benefits are and why they are and what are the hang-ups with that is truly important. Keep a list of medications and make sure that file is handy. So anybody that's having any kind of medication, you need a list. You need to make sure that you know exactly what a parent is on, because if they start acting strangely or something's not working, a lot of times it's the medication. We want to make sure that you have a list, you know what's going on, and you have it readily available. Beware of your parents' financial plan for long-term care. If they have a plan already, if they have a long-term care insurance policy, that is wonderful. That is great news. And typically anybody under the age of, usually I'm looking at people at age between 55, usually 50 and 70. If you're between those two ages, this is time to buy long-term care. Make sure that you have it. That way you can cover a lot of those nursing home expenses, because the average stay of a nursing home increases on a regular basis, but your average cost is going to be between $6,000 and $8,000 a month. So that is a big cost, and it dwindles estates down really, really quickly. If there's anything about any kind of contracts, or a lot of times when you come into a nursing home, they'll require you to sign. It may be that you may need to talk to an elder law attorney in order to make sure that you understand your financial obligations, but also to be able to talk about what is veterans benefits, what is Medicaid, when do we need to apply for it, and how quickly. The faster you get in and talk about those issues and be able to see if you qualify for veterans benefits, or if we're planning for a Medicaid, or if we're getting I don't sell long-term care insurance policies, but making sure that you have a long-term care insurance policy, make sure you know how much coverage there is for long-term care policies, are all important first steps. So meet my grandma and grandpa. As a grandson to two wonderful grandparents, I had talked to them about getting veterans benefits for a long time. My grandmother had a stroke. My grandfather had Alzheimer's, and a lot of that, but they also had long-term care insurance. Because they were both in a nursing home, we're talking about $12,000 a month was the outflow. And that is a lot of money going out very fast. So we want to make sure that we've got those issues that are covered. Or I wanted to make sure that they were covered. My grandfather was a Korean War veteran. He had a nice little nest egg that he had accumulated, but he was still paying out a large chunk because you had both of them in a nursing home at the same time. And I kept on telling him, hey, let's apply for VA. Let's do some work. Because we finally got them in to listen and to apply for VA, he was able to leave a nest egg of a fairly substantial amount to my parent, in order to cover a lot of those expenses, because VA was kicking in and they didn't need as much money for the long haul. So, it's important to plan, but just acknowledging that there are benefits that are out there. Okay, ignoring self-care. This is probably the biggest thing, and that I see. A lot of times you'll have a family member, the husband wants to take care of the spouse wants to take care of the husband, and they're doing the lifting, they're moving the person, but they're also their mental state and their emotional, their physical state is starting to diminish because they're exerting more energy than what they truly actually have, and they're trying to take care of those individuals. So you need to take all family members. When you're taking care of a family member, you need to make sure that you have time set aside for self-care. Rebuild, re-energize yourself. Join a support group. Join a group that you can talk to. If you're taking care of a spouse, or spouse is taking care, whatever, you need to make sure that a person has somewhere to go, somewhere to do, to invigorate them. The member of the family decides to be the primary caregiver, don't forget about your own personal activities and family. You're not, you've got to do some balancing act. There are respite, what's called RSP, I think PITE, respite care centers. So you want to make sure that you've got some kind of respite situation taken care of for yourself if you're taking care of the person in home. And if other family members can't step in to help you, hire a professional. Should not be a problem, and should be very communicated to the family members on the front end that there's going to be times when I can't take care of you, and I'm going to have to hire somebody to come in and take care of you. And that's okay. You've got to have self-care. If you don't are taking care of yourself, you are going to diminish your own physical, emotional, and mental health. So make sure that you've got things situated for yourself. So again, we've got to fall back to Grandpa Bob. My grandmother had a stroke, and as he was working, it was very important to him that he was constantly taking care of my grandmother, which was a wonderful thing. But what we saw from that experience was that his mental state significantly deteriorated because he was staying at the house and making sure that she was taken care of at all points in time. He loved golf. There was points in time where, he couldn't play golf because he was taking care of grandma. So, it's important for you to get out, enjoy your family, and, get out and do something. Re-energize yourself. Make sure that you're not just taking this on solely. So that is it. I hope you found that this was useful information. Please don't hesitate to write any questions. I'm willing to take questions from anybody. And, if you know of anything, or if if I can assist you in any way, please don't hesitate to contact us, because there's no such thing as a bad question at this juncture. We're here to be educators and to educate you of anything that provides you any kind of useful information. So, all right. Thank you very much for attending. I'm not seeing any questions at this juncture. Hopefully, if we'll be sending out a poll, and if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you for attending today, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.